Welcome to the Healthusiasm podcast, a panel discussion on innovations in health and self-care. My name is Christophe Jauquet. I'm a health business expert, author, and professional keynote speaker. And every week, well, not actually exactly every week, almost every month, I discuss with a panel of experts the positive changes that are shaping our health and happiness. And for this discussion, we have three of your beloved experts in the panel. Calling in from Barcelona is our digital health connector, Aline Noizet.
Hola.
From Colombia, and not like I said last time, from Scotland. From Colombia, but living in Berlin, digital health expert for startups, Nia Escobar-Kulle.
Guten Morgen.
And last but not least, from Ghent, Belgium, human experience expert Mo Zouina, who is, I believe, in Spain now.
Hola, goedemorgen.
This means that we are missing out on our from Scotland but living near Brighton medical expert in digital innovation, Dr. Keith Grimes. How are you doing, guys?
Very good.
Wonderful.
Nice. Very good.
Good to hear. Mo is in Spain. Aline, you just got back from where?
From India.
How was it?
It was amazing. Yeah. So I went there for a wedding and I took the opportunity to explore a bit the Healthusiasm scene over there, like health innovation. And I went to one hospital, a children's hospital called Rainbow Children's Hospital. And I was really amazed. Like they give me a tour of the old building. And wow, for me, that's what Healthusiasm. It was not really innovation as technological innovation, but lots of small attentions that really make people feel good. You know, that was like, well, actually I could come here to that hospital. So they have like design of Disney, like on all the walls, like different nice. Topics per floor. They have like fishbowl, lots of games for the kids. Downstairs, they also take care of women. They have like special chairs because the pregnant woman, like it's more difficult for them to sit down. So we put those special chairs. The rooms also for the mom who just got babies, amazing views on the city. Yeah, I found very relaxed being there, though it's an hospital, not the place you want to be. But in that case, I found they did a very great job. And although I didn't see so much innovation per se as technological innovation, as I like to call them, but it was actually, it doesn't have to be about technology. That was my takeaway.
Well, it's nice. What is remarkable is that all these children's hospitals are far better than the adult hospitals, and it always makes me wonder, why can we do it for children and not for adults?
Exactly.
Why is it so difficult to do it for adults? Nia, you did something special as well, I believe. I saw it on your Instagram, I believe.
I did. So, I actually competed and finished my first Hyrox. So Hyrox is basically a competition that is a combination of like CrossFit exercises and functional fitness with running. So you have 8 stations and then you run 1 kilometer in between the 8 stations. And I really actually enjoyed it, not just for the sake of training. I love sports. I'm super active, but also the fact that I could fundraise. So basically Hyrox has partnered with, High Impact for Athletes. And this is an NGO that supports Olympiad athletes and high performance athletes to fundraise and connect with charities. And I was one of like the first people who got to get a charity ticket. So it's a cheaper ticket to compete at Hyrox, but that means you also have a commitment to fundraise. And I managed to fundraise 300 euros for global health. So not only did I tested and like my endurance and my grit and my burpee skill and my running skills, but I also managed to do it with a higher purpose of supporting especially women. So providing access to, for example, prenatal care for pregnant women, also access to clean water and supporting children in developing nations. So it was very, very inspiring to do that, test myself and at the same time support other causes.
Well done.
It's lovely when these things come together, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And what I love the most is that I put the campaign on LinkedIn. I had never fundraised, and a lot of my LinkedIn connections supported the fundraise. So I was very touched by that, to see that it resonates with people.
Well done.
I have to say, I didn't see it, so I
neither did I. I just got a guilt peak here.
All good, all good. I think you can still donate, no pressure. And I'm doing another one, sadly not fundraising, but I'm doing my second race in 5 weeks in Poland. So I'm still training for that, trying to improve my time.
Okay,
cool.
so maybe shout out to the listeners. You know,
Yeah, for sure. Are you
Yeah.
in Poland? Come and shout for me and see me die in Poznan, 13th of December.
See Me Die in Poznan. That's a movie
Exactly.
title.
It is quite hard, but it's fun.
Yeah, I think it's 90 minutes.
So you're running against time. So it's like a marathon in a sense. Like you start and there's no finishing time. You can take 3 hours. You can take 45 minutes. The professional athletes do it around an hour 10. It also depends if you're doing it single or double. I did it single, women single. So that's a category. And it took me 1 hour 47. So not bad, but
It's
I
a
have to
good
say,
movie.
exactly. But I have to say I got very sick the days before, or actually the weeks before. I was in the US and
Really?
my performance was heavily affected. So Poland is my comeback.
Good for you. We'll hear about it on the next episode.
For sure.
See me rise again in Poznan.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm happy for two things. First of all, the person who's not here just rattled up the UK digital scene with his incredible paper on compliance and
Keith
clinical
Grimes.
safety. So shout out to Keith.
And Sam Shah as well, who's been on the show as well.
Yeah. So shout out to him, and then shout out to me, because together with a team, we organized the first European Congress on regenerative medicine, more specifically on orthobiologics. And orthobiologics means that everything that is linked to the musculoskeletal system. And we had people flying in from Pakistan, from the US, from Korea, from Greece, to Leuven, of all places. We did a Belgian beer tour. They loved it. And we're kind of amazed by all the reaction we got, by the goodwill we had. We did on-stage demos of orthobiologic interventions, which kind of scared the stuff a little bit. But for the rest, it was very nice. It was kind of a family. And we had two problems. We want to expand, but everyone during the Congress says, please don't make it bigger, because we can talk to everyone and things like that. So shout out to Anita van Domselaar and Katrien de Greef and Peter Evert, who helped organize it.
Lovely. And scared it looked pretty weird how the intervention was done with like how many people in the room? A couple of dozens?
We're about 60, 70. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
But regenerative medicine is Dr. Luga Podesta says it's surgery through the needle. Okay. Because we are injecting regenerative material to help heal the musculoskeletal system. And he, by the way, is treating all the superstars in the US, sports, but also famous movie stars, and also performers who say we have to be on stage next week and we can't afford not to, be out. And they fly over to him in California or Florida, and he keeps them moving. So Nia, should you ever have a problem with your musculoskeletal system, you can come over and we'll get you back running in Potsdam in no time.
Yeah.
I consider that. Thank you, Mo. What was because I think for most people, the topic is not very accessible. It's not something that we're talking about openly every day, right? What was your biggest takeaway from having all these experts in one room?
The big takeaways, first of all, is the friendliness and the goodwill, because they're all pioneering for something. So they find themselves together fighting the traditional approach to the fact that you got injured, that you have pain and things like that, and trying to help people move forward without side effects and tapping into that. So I think the connection was incredible. And for the first time in a medical setting, there were no egos. Everyone was helping, everyone was supporting, and they said, I'll fly over, I'll come and show you and things like that. There was no protection on knowledge. I think that was on expertise. There was no silos and things like that. And that's what made it an incredible success. Yeah.
Amazing.
And this is what we need.
Yeah.
Well, from my side, not much new. First of all, Leuven and a Belgian beer tour. I've studied in Leuven for 5 years, lived there 1 year more. So I've done many Belgian beer tours in Leuven.
They miss you, by the way, Christophe.
half of the bars are out of business already. Yeah, I know Leuven quite a bit. I just came back from Riyadh, the Global Health Exhibition, which is the biggest health exhibition in the world, probably. There's about 150,000 people in the middle of the desert, which is pretty amazing. I was hosting the digital health stage for about 2 days in a row. So I got to see a lot of presentations. And my main takeaway was we are talking in Europe and even in the States sometimes about, how difficult it is to implement AI and should we, and is it safe and what have you all. But all the use cases I've seen there by hospitals, even, it's like they're 10 years ahead. They could share so much knowledge and experience and learnings that, we should bring these people around the world because it's flabbergasting all the things that they are already doing. So it's always nice to be there. It's the second year in a row that I go there, and I always come back like this was 1 year later than last year, and even now it felt like they've done so many things in just only 1 year. So I hope to be back next year because it's really amazing what is already happening, and it's annoying to see that we cannot advance in that same speed.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, good to have these updates. Let's start with the show. And since about 2 episodes, I tried to start with what I call the good news. And I think I need to change the title because I'm not sure if it's really the good news, but it's remarkable news that doesn't fit any of the other segments. And for that, I'll go to Albania. Did you hear that in Albania, they now have a pregnant government minister, which in itself is not so special, right? Besides the fact that she is an AI chatbot. So her name is Diela, if I pronounce it correctly, and she started as a digital assistant for the government. And then she got promoted to Minister of Artificial Intelligence. I think it's Minister of the State of Artificial Intelligence. There's 2 different names you can find online. So that's already plot twist. Government minister, pregnant, but it's an AI chatbot. And pregnant, you mean? Well, the Prime Minister of Albania just announced that Diela is expecting 83 children, between brackets, 1 for every parliament member. And so the kids, they obviously won't need schools or diapers, but they'll attend debates, take notes, whisper reminders. So basically, they're digital interns with a perfect memory and 0 coffee breaks. The opposition really hates it. But on the other hand, these kind of AI chatbots, they provide probably less corruption, maybe more transparency, maybe less bureaucracy. And so in other words, the Albanian government now has basically a AI family tree, which is remarkable. I really love that. So Minister of Artificial Intelligence has 83 children for each member of parliament. I really like that news. And at the same time, I was thinking, because I was reading some other stuff, and I saw something about Sam Altman, one of the most famous people in the world today, the CEO of OpenAI, because he is now backing up a startup that is called Merge Labs. And so the goal, and I'll come back to why I link both of them, the goal is that this new technology will be able to read brains using ultrasound, so no surgery needed. So it's really about moving into health and performance at the same time, but it's mainly about brain-computer interfaces without using implants. Because one of the things that Altman says is that I don't want to have anything stitched in my head. So thinking about Neuralink and his not so good friend, Elon Musk, Sam Altman says, I want to make sure that we can have a brain-computer interface without no surgery, no risk, no big costs, but direct access. And so he invested quite a bit of money in it. And I think it is already valued at almost $1 billion. So $850 million. So that is how big it is. And merge comes from the fact that it merges humans with AI. That is the idea. So you could imagine if the 83 children of the Minister of Artificial Intelligence in Albania can start reading the minds of the members of parliament, then we will definitely get into less bureaucracy, more transparency, maybe less corruption, and definitely an ease of administration in Albania. That was the kind of good news that I saw that I think I needed to share, because both of these news are kind of crazy. You heard about it?
No, I
No.
just while you were talking, I just looked it up, and of course, one of the things that Delia is going to do is check for bureaucracy and corruption. Of course, I think Albania has a long way to go to fit these things. But then, if you say, direct access to brains, what I like about Neuralink is they always have to ask you.
What do you mean?
But anyway, I think, as you said, in Riyadh, I think it's better sometimes to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. And I think moving the needle further away and then pulling it back might be easier than slowly going towards things that will be accepted. So, yeah, fascinating.
Fascinating.
And by the way,
indeed.
Delia is doing something that we all, as parents, do: is our children keep us in check in terms of ethics and what we would like to do and what we don't do. Sometimes they say, "How do you explain that to your children? What you just did?" So I think it's a nice parallel.
But Mo, we live in Belgium. How long will it take to have these types of innovations in Belgium?
I won't see it.
No.
Deregulated.
No, because I think it has to do with different cultures, fragmentation of power and things like that, and then just plain resources. So I think it's a very complex thing that creates a lot of inertia. And I think we will be eaten up alive by companies and societies like Riyadh, China, and things that just move things forward, but also, as our China
Albania.
expert said, that mobilizes all the systems towards something. Yeah.
But they don't regulate as much as we do in Europe as well.
Yeah. What I find fascinating is the fact that they are changing the way they're presenting it by making it very human and heartwarming, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's pregnant and the children are coming. And so I think most people, yes, are familiar with ChatGPT and LMs and some applications, right? Like, if I talk to my parents or my sisters or like people who are slightly older than me, they have had some encounters, but they still distrust, generally speaking, AI. So I love how the way of presenting it and integrating it is just done so differently. The storytelling, it's warming and it's not threatening, right? It's here to support you. Let's see how it works.
I think what I love about it, I think what I love about it, and this is a shout out to Professor Lode de Waal from the Utrecht University, is that most of the systems are based on processes that you have to be compliant. Here they just tell you have to take that assistant, otherwise you can't be allowed in the group, right? And that assistant will just check everything you do. So or you accept that assistant, and so they don't rely on processes anymore. We're just going to observe you. That's it. And you don't have to report anything. We'll know. I think that's incredibly smart.
Yeah, and I'll use that assistant as a segue to the first Healthusiasm, because I want to talk about AI health coaches or AI health assistants. It's been a topic on my mind, and I've researched it for the past year pretty heavily, and it's crazy how many companies are moving into that space. But I particularly want to talk about Google and Samsung, who did something new now in that space. Because indeed, we do collect, when it comes to our health, we do collect a lot of data. And yeah, you work out a lot. I'm pretty sure you use watches and apps and so forth to really get those data. But there's also data in the hospital system or in the medical system in general. And basically, it is, first of all, scattered around, but we also don't know what to do with that information. We know that doctors are busy, appointments, it might take a while to get to see them. And so we try to figure things out ourselves about our sleep, our stress, our recovery, our diet, our symptoms, and so forth. And so both Google and Samsung, they are moving into this health assistant, health AI coaching space very quickly. With Google announcing that they launched a Google AI coach, which will help you set fitness and sleep goals based on your real data. I don't think that's so exceptional. They will create weekly workout plans and adjust them over time. Sora exists already as well. They will also explain your sleep patterns and how your lifestyle affects the rest. I think I have such apps with me. But on top of that, it will directly have a conversation with you to ask you questions about your nutrition, your health conditions, and very simple language. And so it will be like a supportive trainer, not really a doctor. That's not how Google positions it, but to really have that conversation about what is happening with your Fitbit, what is happening with your Pixel smartphone or your Pixel watch, and really translate all of that into conversational mode to help you coach your health. And we see the same thing happening with AI, but they position it a little bit more different. They more position it as a health ecosystem that is more integrated with the healthcare system itself as well. So two recent news came up related to that is that Samsung, they acquired Gzelt. So it's health with an X, which is a platform for doctors so that they can actually prescribe digital tools. So Gzelt allows doctors to prescribe digital health tools, which could be remote monitoring, it could be education, it could be information from the medical records. So by doing this, combining Samsung's ecosystem with Gzelt, they want to support patients between visits and not only during the appointments, mainly like in a way, bridging the data that you have at home in your watch and your tracking apps, but also the data that's in the clinical workflow and the healthcare system in itself. But on top of that, Samsung Health is also integrating a virtual doctor visit because they partnered up with HealthTap. So on top of that, within their ecosystem, you can book visits with real physicians inside their app, which will allow you to, have even the notes of that visit straight into your Samsung Health. And all of that, I believe, will move. They didn't announce it as an AI health coach yet or an AI health assistant, but it's clear that if you can prescribe digital health tools, if it bridges with the data from your personal devices, and if it allows you to have more information or even more easily book virtual doctor visits, then it's pretty clear that Samsung is still moving into that space. I think we started the year with Samsung as well. But Samsung is really moving into that space where they want to be part of your daily life, where health is part of your daily life, and they are facilitating it. And I really like what they're doing here. We were talking about Albania and how an assistant can help members of parliament, but here it's AI. We see many big tech companies that are used by so many people moving into a space where they try to gather the data and build something on top of it to build a personal AI health coach, assistant, whatever you may call it. And I really like that example, to be honest. One other company that I know has been focusing a lot on these health assistants and these health AI coaches is a company that this year has been so very active as well, a bit like Samsung and like Google, and that's the Oura Ring, right? I think there's quite some news that came out in just the recent 30 days. And I think, Aline, you had one on that topic, and myself, I have another one, and Nia also has one. So kick it off, Aline.
Exactly, yeah. But that's something I like a lot about Oura. It's like they are releasing new features and new addition to the product all the time. And it feels really good as a user to be experimenting that. It's like having a new product all the time, or a upgraded product. But the news that caught my attention those past days actually is Oura announcing that they are moving into hypertension. And I think it's really big because we know that high blood pressure is one of the leading cause of leading risk factors of several serious conditions. But it's also it's silent. It's not something that we can detect all the time. And maybe you will go to your doctor and it will say, yeah, okay, you need to take your blood pressure, but not everybody has a cuff at home. Maybe you need to go to the pharmacy and you will need to rent it for a few days. But it's not something that you can detect all the time. So having a wearable that you're wearing already all the time and that could reliably identify elevated blood pressure, I think that can have a huge impact. And also if we talk about public health, like it's also a big thing, big implications by expanding early detection and having big impact on people's life. So for now, what they're doing at Oura, they are launching a blood pressure profile study. So they want to see if the data collected by the ring plus a questionnaire that they are sending to the user could help identify early signs of hypertension. And if this study is successful, then they will apply to the FDA. But just that doing that study also shows that they are being serious about the clinical and scientific validation. And the mention of the FDA is also very important because it's like an important step for Oura because it it shows that they're really planning to move towards medical grade. And that's something that we had discussed a few months ago, beginning of the year, when they appointed the chief medical officer, and signaling that maybe they were moving in that direction. And maybe that's the first example of many that will happen with Oura. And for me, it was also a reminder of what happened with Whoop a few weeks ago, when the FDA sent them a letter to say, hey, be careful because your blood pressure insights features should actually be medical grade, although Whoop considers it as a like consumer feature. Yeah. So it looks like Oura have learned from that, and they are being more cautious. So yeah, I think it's a great news and very, very important step forward.
It's crazy how they do it. First of all, I immediately had to think as well when I saw FDA related to how Whoop was tapped on their fingers, I think is the expression, because they sell it as wellness, but they actually provide features that are more medical. So it's good to see that they are doing it and that they're moving into this space. It's crazy how they managed to do all of that, because at the same time, in the same last month, I've read that they have built a partnership with Discover Vitality in South Africa. So I don't know if all listeners know Discovery Vitality, but it's an insurance company, and it's one of the most exceptional insurance companies in the sense that they really try to make people healthy or keep them healthy in a way. So they provide a lot of tools, but also rewards to make sure that people work on their health and remain healthy. And so they now have a partnership very specifically around sleep, because we know the steps, we know a lot of things that can be measured with a lot of devices, but sleep is often a bit more difficult. Nevertheless, sleep matters. Most of us probably don't even understand sleep if you're not fully occupied with it, but generally speaking, we don't sleep enough. We sleep at the wrong times, not regular, sometimes at a poor quality. And the effects of poor sleep shows up pretty much everywhere, right? Energy, mood, weight, your heart health, even how the way that we drive and so forth. And so with this partnership, what they try to do for the members of Vitality, the insurance company, is that the members can actually get a Oura Ring 4 fully covered or at a discount. And the sleep tracking will become as important as nutrition and exercise in the Vitality program. So the Vitality program is the program where people can get rewards and gifts if they keep track of their health, if they remain healthy. And so right now it's launched. People can get it. People can track their sleep, and they will move into a Vitality sleep score, which allows you to see how well you slept. And then from 2026 onwards, people can earn rewards as well on how they hit their personal sleep goals. By the way, Oura Ring came out with it. They do a wonderful job and with the marketing. But basically, Vitality will also apply it with Apple, Garmin, Samsung, all the others, app trackers or devices that are out there. But it's lovely to see that, again, Oura is communicating like that and trying to be that partner that really has an impact on one's health.
Talking about partnerships, maybe I can share a little bit of the news that caught my attention about Oura. And I think you guys know we have talked about it. I've had my Oura Ring for 4.5 years, right? I'm a huge fan. I love it. But in the last weeks, Oura really made headlines, not for new features or new studies, or sleep updates, but actually they announced a partnership with Palantir. And Palantir basically is working with the US Department of Defense or the DoD. And within basically our social media went wild. Users basically were going on Reddit, on TikTok, and they were saying they don't want to use their Oura Rings anymore because of this partnership. And what really I find interesting is that this story basically isn't really just about one wearable, but it's about how our personal health data is starting to live outside the health realm, right? We talk about a lot about data privacy in healthcare, insurance companies, like you just mentioned, Christophe, pharmaceutical companies, women's health, political shifts, we really consider health data in health. So basically, Oura confirmed that it is working with the Department of Defense in the US and they will support employees of the Department of Defense in things like managing stress, fatigue, and mission readiness. That's how they call it because they work with military staff. And Palantir basically, for maybe those who have heard about Palantir, provides actually secure data infrastructure for those defense programs that the DoD is generating. And Palantir has been heavily criticized because, for example, in the US, they provide the software that is supporting ICE to deport immigrants or to specifically follow Muslim population in the US and do surveillance. So it's a really murky combination and partnership. So our ring, of course, said very clearly that the setup and the partnership doesn't really touch consumer data. They don't sell the user data, and only participants in the DoD programs who have given consent are part of the system on the program. But it still strikes a nerve with the users of like you and me, I guess, because when you hear Palantir, you don't really think about wellness analytics, or would you think about Department of Defense using Oura? You also don't think wellness analytics, but you think surveillance, security, and control, right? And suddenly this cool ring that we have that is telling us how to sleep better or perform better or hypertension or different health factors and activities that we do just doesn't feel like that. It just feels like something else completely. And I find this moment is really fascinating because it's also very revealing. It shows how fluid the conversation on the definition of health data has become. We used to draw very clear lines between health data that belong to the hospitals, belong to patients and physicians, but now, and fitness data, for example, belonging to consumers and so on. But now those same biomarkers and those same biometrics like sleep, heart rate, and stress are relevant to defense, to corporate productivity, and even predictive risk modeling. And this is a shift that I basically see as from health to control. From how can I recover better to how can we measure someone is always ready, who's fit, who's resilient enough. And that's a very different conversation to have when we talk about wearables and biomarkers. So yes, the partnership won't affect everyday Oura users, so I think we're all fine. But it does change the tone of the conversation and the use cases that we will see coming up. Because every time our health data becomes useful for another system, like a government, an employer, a performance program, the question is definitely more present of who really owns our health data and what are they doing with it. And Oura may have not crossed that line. I think it's technically, if you read the articles and the announcements, it didn't. But it reminded us that the line is still moving and that maybe, that's what it's making people uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think the most crazy thing about Palantir, so they're working for the government and they're building a lot of defense, they call it defense tools. Mm-hmm. But the crazy thing about it is that it uses data to take decisions. So, and that is their strength, right? It's not a dashboard. It's not a report. It's a decision on the spot in real time. Whatever environment it is in. And that's why it's like the self-flying drones and the self-flying bombs. Those are the ones that are made by Palantir. So within that mindset, that's why they're known at least for. So within that mindset, it is kind of weird that suddenly they want to have that hand on all these health data, right? So I didn't read it, by the way. I missed out on it. It wasn't exploding in my face on social media either in some way. So I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm not an Oura Ring user, but it's pretty crazy.
And what I found shocking is that people were really giving up the rings. They were saying, Palantir collaboration, I'm out, and throwing them away. So very radical news.
Yeah. Imagine the US government becoming the largest Oura client. Then the leverage is incredible.
Yeah.
You see? And then on top of that, I'm not saying every government was ethical, but there's an ethics crisis happening all over the world. So yeah, I understand the concern, and we'll see what that leads us. But if the U.S. government, which has incredible resources, becomes the number one customer of Oura, then I say will become quite tricky.
It's crazy
Thanks for sharing.
It's crazy how the military and defense becomes, or I'll put it differently. It's crazy how health becomes such a major focus within military and defense. You see it with the hackathons being done for the army, which very often, turns around health in some form or another. Obviously, health is everywhere and it's important for all of us, so definitely for soldiers or for the nation in general. So it kind of makes sense, but it is very intrinsically available. Let's just put it that way. But also, I've noticed that because so much money is moving into defense and military right now, I see a lot of startups shifting their focus. So they say we're not only to be used in the healthcare setting, we're also to be used in a military setting. There's this, maybe you heard about it as well in your line of work, Nia, but there's this frame or the term called dual use. So they're really thinking about how can we sell what we provide as a solution, not only for one single use being in healthcare, but the dual use also being in military and defense. So this is a radical shift that we've been seeing definitely in Europe for the past year, but it just makes sense that everywhere around the world that this is happening.
I absolutely have a great example of dual use, very short. So it's a remote patient monitoring startup, very successful in the UK and Ireland, and then dual use. They realized that their tech could also be used to support wounded soldiers in the war field in different levels. So basically, if they get injured in the front field, and I'm not a military expert, so I'm lacking the terms, I'm sorry about that. If they get injured in the field, there's a specific system of, depending on the severity of the injury, how they get sent either to primary care or like to the hospitals or critical care. And now they're using the same tech and the same devices to support providing healthcare to wounded soldiers in the field. So dual care,
which is
there
good,
you go.
yeah. But it's a radical shift in where they try to find the clients and the money.
Absolutely.
It's a triage system. But on the other hand, all the people going to what I call the health Dorado, right? We are going where the money is. I think military is an upper level, but then the big advantage is here, if you recruit one client in the military, you're set for gold. So I think, spreading out the word and having individual customers like Oura, or just acquiring one customer, that's just businesses. And then lastly, let's not be too hypercritical. All the progress we've had through mobile phones, microwave technology, it was all started in the military. So the military is really the edge because the resources are there. Okay, the ethics and the meanings are maybe sketchy, but a lot of these things trickle down to everyday life and convenience. So I think maybe that's also a double-edged sword.
I mean, the internet was DARPA. Let's not forget that.
Oh, totally. I was looking for a segue. I was thinking about the institutification of health. I'm not sure if it is correct, but the reason why it's the worst segue whatsoever. But I wanted to move towards the toilets. That's why I was looking for. Because Aline, you mentioned it, I think in January as well. There's a lot of things that we mentioned in January that comes back in this episode. But you mentioned in January something from CES. Do you have it? Do you remember what it is?
It was the device from Withings, no? That won the awards that you put in the toilet.
Exactly. Yes. So at CES, Withings announced the U-Scan, which is indeed a device that you put inside your toilet and analyzes your urine every day. And now it is available. It's rolling out in the US and in Europe for a price of about $380, up to $450, depending on how many tests per week you want to have. So what does it do? It tracks hydration, acidity, fat burning signals, minerals linked to nutrition or kidney health, and so forth. And so you need to buy cartridges for that. There's one, the Nutrio, which is a nutritional signal that are captured, and the Calci, which is a kidney health risk that is measured. And so it was announced. It was voted one of the most innovative, best innovations at CES this year. But it's now being rolled out. I think we are 10 to 11 months later. So if you want, for a mere $400, you can have it in your toilet bowl to have your urine analyzed every day. At the same time, also this month, there was another announcement. So you can fill your toilet with tons of technology now. And the whole toilet becomes a laboratorium or a lab to analyze your, how do you put it? Your shit and urine. Say it again, Mo?
Excrements and urine.
Yeah, excrements. Yeah, that's
or poo,
better.
if
It's a better
cute.
Yeah, okay. It's a more professional word. Thank you for that. But so also this month, the Color Decoder was launched, which is a different type of device. You also need to clip it onto your toilet, and it looks with sensors, again, to understand the hydration and your gut health in this case, because it's not the urine in this case, it's a secretion. And it will alert you if there's any minor blood in your stool or anything related to hydration and your gut health. Costs about $600 with membership. Of course, everything comes with memberships and subscriptions of about $70 a year to analyze your data and have these insights. So if you want, as from next month, maybe we're November now, so we're soon heading towards Christmas, you can buy your entire family ways to analyze anything or their health in the toilet. To say 2 new devices being able to analyze your health in your toilet at home.
By the way, the shitification didn't start right now, because if you go back to the French language, comment allez-vous was basically, can you still go to the loo?
Yeah.
And if you went to the loo, that means that you were healthy. So I love the way we are now reinventing a regular greeting to check in on how are you healthy? That is the way we said hello in French. Comment allez-vous? Can you still go to the loo? That's a nice comment.
I remember you mentioned that. I remember you mentioned that earlier on the podcast as well, and then Keith chimed in and saying something about the Scottish phrases that that also have this thing with the loo that also meant something related to health. Well, I need to listen to one of the episodes. I think it was from last year, same period about. So we always talk about the stool somewhere in November, apparently. Okay, moving on. Mo, you had also a Healthusiasm for us.
Yeah, I have a Healthusiasm for you that requires a little bit of listening, because the good news is at the end. So we've never been more obsessed by longevity. Longevity is a $5.6 trillion industry. And at the same time, Siskia de Ruyser, 26-year Belgian woman, died by euthanasia in Belgium due to psychological suffering. These two things kind of come together in a weird way in my Healthusiasm. Siskia, 26, was suffering for 13 years. She had 40 suicide attempts, fighting with an overwhelmed mental health system. And her final words were, I found peace because now I know it will stop. Now, how does that link into longevity? Well, I think Siskia was caught in a triple mismatch. We have our biology is a Stone Age Paleolithic system that lives in a medieval social structure, but that is engineered for a hyper-futuristic world. And the first biology, that our biology craves attention, connecting and belonging. The social structure is organized on control and performance, but the tech and engineered world we have created is engineered for consumption. And I think she was stuck in that misalignment, causing existential suffering. And what is crazy is that we've eliminated sudden death. We don't die of things anymore, right? Infections, we mitigate risk. We have a lot of safety systems in our car. If you go over the white line, the car just shakes up. But we have reinvented suffering. We've taken out risk to die, but we are reinventing suffering as an existential thing. And that means that living long with mental health is kind of a life sentence, because we are living longer than ever. And that means that with every year we extend our longevity through medical science and breakthrough and things like that, we also have to ask ourselves a question. Do we also empower people to know when it's enough? So that's kind of the paradox of progress. The last question, I think, and I think where Siskia was stuck is, do I want 60 more years of this? Because I won't die of anything else. Now, that asks the question, what is the difference between growth, progress, and, well, I think true progress, I've said it before in the podcast, true progress, I think the hallmark of a society and the civilization of a society is our ability to reduce unnecessary suffering, not just extending life. And that means that with every effort for longevity, we have a new responsibility, is to reinvent the agency we have over life. And so I think we need to reinvent a new form of freedom. And I think Siska was a freedom fighter. I think she fought for her freedom to say, you know what? I'm 26. I've done 30 years, 40 suicide attempts. I'll pass on this one. Right. So the death is shifting for something that happens to us to something hopefully we can design, because I think with every effort of longevity, we have to rethink our agency we have on life. So I think I said I would end in a positive way. I think Siska was a freedom fighter and helps us, hopefully, to make sure that we will have the freedom to decide how long we live. If people push us to consume more, to consume longer, to engineer services that we can use longer and things like that, I think the counterbalance will be improving our agency to say when it's enough and when it's been good enough. Now, I'd like to quote Jim Carrey, who decided to retire from Hollywood. He said, I've done enough. I have enough. I am enough. Okay. So, shout out to Siska, and wherever she is, thank you very much for making us aware of that.
Yeah, heartbreaking story, and at the same time, indeed, I think you point out something very, very vulnerable and important at the same time. I think suicide has been on the podcast quite some time, specifically for that reason, and it's a very hard subject, difficult subject, maybe to even speak about or to deal with. Sometimes I think
that's why we have this podcast, Christophe.
Yeah. The reason why I'm saying it specifically is because just 2 days ago, because you said 44 suicide attempts at the age of 26 or 40, 26. My son came home two days ago crying like I've never seen him crying ever. And the reason was that he has this girlfriend online that he's been playing Roblox with for, I don't know how many years. And they also chat through WhatsApp. So I monitor all of this pretty well, because there's a lot of danger there, and I'm aware of that, and I teach him that as well. But now that girl was talking to him, saying that she wants to end her life. 14 years old. I don't know their parents. They live somewhere in the UAE, and he was completely heartbroken from it. So. It's very hard to deal with. First of all, your son at this age, my son is 13 years old. So he was, talking with somebody who was reflecting upon life and whether or not she should continue it, and actually ended the conversation with, I'll do it. And then never replied anymore to him. Just to say, and I also want to end with a positive note, is that it's a very difficult discussion. I talk with him all the time about it now, but since about 48 hours. But there's a lot of complexity in today's world. We know about the mental health crisis, and I think this is these are two examples of the mental health crisis, whatever form it may come out. But the complexity of our world, with the digital world and the virtual world and the real world, and the way that we talk behind our screens about stuff maybe more easily, impacts a lot of the people around us. And even if there is, we can argue definitely for more freedom, there is this sensitivity and maybe awareness that we need to build around how easily people talk about this, and how it could impact more than just themselves.
Yeah, I have 2 points to that. Siska followed all the rules, and we might be, bashing on Belgium, but Belgium was the first to allow, controlled euthanasia for the good reason. She followed all the rules. She had a waiting time for 1 month. She was assessed and things like that. And then secondly, the problem, I think what is important to know is that Siska didn't die because of what happened to her. Siska died because how we responded to a problem. And the fact that she was not cared for, but contained because there weren't people enough to check in on her. She was put in an isolation cell because there were not enough people there to connect with her. And I see that going from psychiatric wards, but also to elderly homes, right? Where I see when it's event day, everyone is doing the PR tour. And when you go there in weeks, people are just sitting there, wasting away. But the bill stays the same. So we see real estate companies monetizing suffering in some way, and I think real progress is not just moving forward. It's also addressing the problems that we tackle with today, even if we know that they will get worse. I think also innovation is finding systems that allows us to alleviate that suffering in some way. And shout out to the people in the elderly home of my father-in-law, who has a level of dementia for which he's over, he has a level of dementia they can handle in an elderly home, and it's not enough for a psychiatric ward. So I think these things are the things that we should address. Siska didn't die of what happened to her. She was bullied, and mishandled, but the way we responded to her made her check out. And the fact that that the system was under-equipped to do that. And of course, it's an exception, I know. And then third, for your son, Christophe, I think having that question in the UAE is completely different than having it in Spain or in Berlin or in Belgium. So I think the cultural stigma on that might be different depending on where you live.
Yeah, to be seen. It's hard to confirm that or not. But indeed, let's hope that technology can take over a lot of the science, as Keith would say, and that actually we can bring back the care more into health care, for sure. I'll stick with another very recurring theme. Mental health was one. I'll stick with obesity, is something we talk about quite often, to bring the last Healthusiasm of this podcast. And it's related to a Gallup study, because in the US, the obesity rate has started to come down. It peaked in 2022. It was almost at 40%, 39 point something, 7 or 8, I believe. And it now has come down to about 37%. Still huge numbers, 37% of obesity, but it comes down like 1% every year, which means that if you compare it with 2022, there's about 7.6 million fewer adults living with obesity today compared to 3 years ago. So that is the good news. A lot has to do with the GLP-1s, obviously. So that is part of the solution in many ways. Also the focus that we have on daily healthy habits and so forth. However, in that same study, they've also looked at the diabetes rates. And while the obesity rates are going down with 3% in the last 3 years, diabetes is still increasing. And it's at a record high of about 14% in the States. These are numbers from the States, right? So probably there will be, hopefully, a postponed impact from the fact that we lose a little bit of, or we have less obesity. It might have a positive effect on the diabetes rates in the future, but until now, it is still pretty high. Do you get any ideas, guys? How many US adults are using weight loss today? The percentage? Take a guess, Aline. What is the percentage of US adults that are using GLP-1s?
40%.
40, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's lower. Nia?
I would say maybe 25%.
That's also very high. Mo? So the number of adults that are using...
10 to 15, I think.
Yeah, it is 10 to 15. So there's 12% of US adults, 1 in 10, that are using GLP-1s. In Europe, that's not the case. I know 1 or 2 people, but that's about it. And it's not directly, it's somebody knows somebody that knows somebody almost. 12% is still quite a lot. The crazy number behind it is that just 1 year ago, it was 6%. So in 1 year, we went from 6 to 12. So indeed, maybe next year we will go to 25, Nia, and within 2 years, Aline, we will get to that 40% maybe. But it's crazy how we went from 6 to 12%. So we can expect more obesity decrease, and hopefully at some point a decrease in diabetes as well.
In Europe, it's 3%.
Is it?
Wow.
I haven't found the numbers. So that's 1/4. It's crazy. Good. These were the Healthusiasms of this month. To close out the podcast, I, per usual, have a couple of unusual ones. And I would love to start with Puff. Oh, by accident, it's Aline. It's the Wheel of Fortune that you just won. Okay, just the arrow was pointing at you, Aline. So here we go. We're going to China. And in China, there are new regulations for healthfluencers or medfluencers. What could it be? I think we talked about it on the show quite a lot on the dangers and the risk of healthfluencers, medfluencers. But China realized that there is quite a bit of a risk. And now they have new regulations for healthfluencers and medfluencers on social media.
Is it related to brands?
It's not related, well, indirectly, but not really, no. Anybody want to support Aline? Because I see her thinking.
Maybe
really
the
hard.
promotion of like alternative medicine, which in Asian countries is very common, but it can also be quite dangerous.
I think if we recall the person who was a China expert that said the people who are elected politically, they have credentials in that matter. Maybe you need a kind of certification to know what you're talking about.
That is spot on. So influencers who talk about serious topics like health, but also money, law, education, from now on, if you want to make content in those areas, you need to show you're actually trained in them. That means a real degree or a professional certificate. No more, I heard somewhere on the internet, trust me, blah, blah, blah. Studies say the usual claim or statement that kills every argument against it. Studies say that. But now influencers really need to submit the proof of their qualifications. And the big platforms, like the big social media apps, they have to check those documents. Not sure how they'll do it, but they need to check those documents. And if you don't have the right background, videos will be clearly labeled as personal opinion or not professional advice, which affects thousands, hundred thousands probably of creators out there. So even if you have a big following just because you sound confident, you will probably lose a lot of your value. Everything that you might have built because you're so-called a healthfluencer could be gone when this is rolled out publicly.
I love that.
I think it's not a bad thing, right?
I honestly think it grounds a lot of content online that is just fake news or just unfounded, and it's jeopardizing the life of a lot of people or creating fake ideas about health. And I say that also with some podcasts in Europe or podcasts that are like very well known, where you have an expert talking about health and making these claims, and and they have major audiences. So it's really dangerous. And I say it specifically talking about like cancer and being cured with fruits only, or things like this, or just drink tea. This is not science, and yet people still believe that. So honestly, I'm a big fan of that.
It reminds me of what you said, Christophe, about the erosion of knowledge and expertise. And the only thing to fake expertise is being able to type today, right? So I think that's a nice counter movement. I don't know if the human brain will pay attention to it in some way, but I think it's a good move. I think if it's wrapped in an interesting matter, because a lot of people go to these platforms to be entertained in some way. So I think the thing is, those who have degrees, do they know how to make good content? Right. So
yeah, we talked about that with YouTube as well. YouTube has foreseen some training for these healthfluencers. By the way, go ahead.
No, that's it.
Okay, I was just looking in our data. So we are streamed and downloaded in 60 countries today. But none of them, looking real quick, I don't see China in there. So we have quite some Asian countries, from Japan to the Philippines to Singapore is one of the most popular one, Pakistan, Iran, but we don't have India. We also have, by the way, Aline, but we don't have any China in there. So I think we're safe.
Yeah, so shout out to the people in Singapore. Thank you very much. If you want us to come over,
happy to do so.
Send Christophe a message. We're available. We're more
especially
than happy
winter
to come
season.
Yeah, we're available, and we're more than happy to look at the innovation, because I think Singapore in making systems work is also kind of a very, very nice example in terms of health. I just watched something on anti-aging, and they're doing incredible things where kind of science that was not developed in hospitals is now implemented in hospitals on anti-aging and things like that. So just plugging the best I can here, Christophe.
Yeah, totally. And definitely invite us to Singapore. I'll be happy to. Mo, to you for the unusual one. What is vicarious trauma? I don't know if you're familiar with the word vicarious. I wasn't, so I had to look it up. But vicarious means experiencing something through someone else. So in today's society, we talked a lot about, just recently, about a couple of topics that are very related to that. And so here my question is, what is vicarious trauma? What could it be in today's society?
Could it be kind of a next level of empathy where you're traumatized by someone else's trauma?
Yeah, and it's definitely true. But how in today's society are we more than ever traumatized by someone else's trauma?
Oh, Nia, Aline, I need a helpline. Do you have any ideas?
Oh, maybe I'll do some gestures and then you can, the audience cannot see it maybe, but you
Reading the news,
reading the news.
scrolling,
Social media
Exactly.
coverage of traumatic events.
Yeah, exactly. So what we see more and more is that I use it in one of my keynotes on the transformation economy as well, is that, Steve Jobs said, the smartphone will be your life in your pocket. But if we open our smartphone and we look on social media, we see a lot of bad news all the time, whether it's geopolitical, whether it is, people getting hurt or whatsoever. And so more and more what we see is vicarious trauma. So vicarious trauma, which means that we feel the stress or the sadness from stories that are passed on to us through our screen. So whether it's wars, disaster, violence, suffering, and even if we're safe in our own home, our minds and our bodies will react to the fact that we see these things. It's happening out there. Somehow we might be touched by it. This feels close to me. And more what we have is people suffering from vicarious trauma, which then shows up as feeling heavy, anxious, numb, overwhelmed, exhausted, hopeless. I mean, and the list goes on, obviously, but it's really about the mental health issue that we talked about earlier as well, which are almost forced onto us with all the negativity that we see all day long.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
I didn't check the news when I was in India, and I think that's actually, and I came back happy. I think it's related to that, not knowing what was happening in the world.
It's why movies work. And if we look at a movie, we know it's actors, but we still, if it's a rom-com, we cry. If it's horror, we're afraid. And the thing is, once we see it, our body doesn't care whether or not it's real or not real. That's why we cry with sad movies. That's why we're scared of horror. And that's why we have mirror neurons to basically, so kind of vicarious trauma is kind of abusing our connection power to other individuals. I know the mirror neurons are a bit kind of, reversed from when they were kind of discovered in Italy, but we still have an incredible capacity to connect through our senses with both happiness, which is incredibly contagious. If you see someone laughing, we'll laugh too. But if you see someone hurting, we'll mirror that. So yeah, that's once again our Paleolithic biology not serving us well in an environment that doesn't take care of that.
Exactly.
Vicarious trauma. Thanks for sharing.
The last one, Nia, is for you, and it is perfectly made for you. It's a 2-part question.
Go on.
And I'm pretty sure you might figure out the first part, and then I'll challenge you and the others on the second part. What is a runcation?
Oh, I think I might be guilty of that already.
I think so too.
So a runcation is when you go on vacation specifically designed to run, or like to prepare for a marathon or an ultra, or you go actually on vacation to compete. So
exactly. Instead of just sightseeing, people go to places to run.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you do that, right?
I did that. I was in New York a couple of months ago. Well, 2 months ago. And as one does, I was training for Hyrox, so I need to run. So I ran to Central Park and through Upper East Side. And then I was visiting my family in Long Island. And then I was running at the beach in Long Island, going to places I've never been to.
This turning into a Gossip Girl type of episode.
I just got to make the best of the places I'm at.
You're right. But the real question is, there are companies moving into that space. And there's a recent announcement made by 2 companies that are partnering up to provide runcations. What companies could that be? What 2 companies could be moving into the runcation space? I think there's plenty of options.
Well, let's take 2. Polar and On.
Could be a good one, but that's not the one.
I would say maybe Strava and Airbnb.
Oh my God.
Oh, really? What? See? I'm in the community. I have not heard anything about this, but...
Oh my God. I knew it was made
Your
for
topic.
you.
Your topic.
Yeah. And so what they're doing is they're offering stays in rural areas. I have problems with that word, rural areas, with routes mapped out from Strava's community data. So if you are staying in an Airbnb, you can even get a small local reward, like a bakery retreat after your run. And it's basically what they try to do is they make a clever link between travel, nature, community, sports, health, which is, I think I find it really nice. I was not so, runcation is nothing new, as you say. You find that pretty easily as well. But I love how technology companies who are doing really well, find each other to facilitate this trend.
I think this is a clear example that there's been a surge, and I didn't know. I started running this year, so I'm not by any means a runner. But the more I joined running clubs and running communities, there's been a huge surge, and you can look at it by the numbers in terms of running as a trend and as a lifestyle. So you have you're totally right, Mo, it's one of the largest, let's say, lifestyle and commoditized brands. You also have New Balance, you have Strava, Garmin. So you have all these brands that are super brands that are really living on the massive interest of people. So it's really cool, I guess, but it's also very interesting to see how companies are just jumping into a trend, a lifestyle trend and sports trends and just building concepts. And I'm sure people will love this. So maybe I'm going to have a look and see if I can join one.
Definitely do so. But thank you all for your Healthusiasm this month. It is a Healthusiasm world indeed, as I like to say. By the way, the next time we see each other is for a special episode. Aline, Nia, we will be doing a podcast, a Healthusiasm podcast, with a live audience at Frontiers Health. So for all the listeners, do stay close to us and listen to that next episode. For this week, or this month, it's time to wrap up the podcast. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform or visit healthusiasm.com for the newsletter and more news about our panelists. I'd like to thank our panelists for the Healthusiasm. Thank you, Aline Loiset. Thank you, Nia Escobar-Köhler. And thank you, Mo Zubina. My name is Christophe Jauquet. We are the Healthusiasm panel, and we'd love to see you again next time for some more Healthusiasm. Ciao.